are probably pushing it. For how long? We should let that starting soon roll. But hey, what's going on? We're back after a little bit of time. That's okay. That's not OBS. That's my YouTube. So get through that because of the delay. All right. Seems to be okay. Seem like we have audio, which is fantastic. So. I have the monitoring mix still in my ear, and that's really annoying. And that is really annoying. So we're going to get rid of it. What's up? It's been a hot minute. It's probably been a hot couple of months actually, because of reasons. That monitor's probably a little bit in the way of the light, and my drinks almost in the way. That's all right. Welcome from sunny old Brisbane here, where we are just escaping the depths of winter. I am fortunate enough that I am looking at a public holiday tomorrow. It is the People's Day on Wednesday in the fine local government authority of Brisbane, where we have a bunch of people that are going to be going to the ECA, which is one of our big regional shows here, and they will be spreading the coronavirus and the ECA crud from one to another, which I'm sure is going to be a great day out for the people. But hey, it means I get a public holiday, and it means I can stay up late tonight, which means I can potentially do this stream and maybe get back to my Twitch stream after this as well, which would be fantastic. But you know what? There wasn't a lot that could bring me out of my YouTube hibernation, with the exception of today's news. Now, holy shit. I went through quite a range of emotions hearing this news today, and that is, to be specific, the news that allegedly the FBI raided Donald Trump's Palm Beach. Is it Palm Beach? Palm Grove? I don't know the city's name, but his Mar-a-Lago mansion. And essentially did so to obtain, I think it was 15 boxes of documents, or some amount of documents that had been removed by Trump, not returned by Trump. Whatever the specifics were not where they should have been, and so they were retrieved by the Federal Bureau of Investigations agents that were dispatched to his house overnight. It's always weird to talk about things that happened recently when you're in Australia, because I don't know if it's today in my time, overnight in my time, or overnight in your time, but let's just say temporally adjacent to the time we are now is when something happened to Trump, and it is wildfire on the internet at the moment. News outlets are going hog wild on this. Twitter is aflame, and it is just spectacular. And it is one of these events that happens rarely. I suppose it's not rare, but it's probably one of the most clear examples that I've come across that very clearly demonstrates that conservatives have no moral compass, that they are purely instinct-based animals that are acting in the interests of self-preservation and the perceived benefit that they can eke out of any given situation. Tragically, this is one of those most stark examples of this type of behavior. And I guess we should just get to it then, shouldn't we? So at the moment, there's not really much more to the story than there was a raid. Trump had things seized from his house. Trump was not present at the house. As far as I can tell, there was no violence in terms of human bodily violence. Now, whether or not you think the invasion of private property and stuff, there's a type of violence there, that's fine. But to be very clear, there was no physical violence to the body of Donald Trump or any of his family or whoever's at Mar-a-Lago. I don't know what the situation is there in terms of who's on the property. When he's not there, presumably there's housekeepers and stuff. Fuck knows, I'm not that sort of rich, so who knows? The key thing being that, like, I don't think there was any bodily violence, just sort of property violence. One thing that I don't think I necessarily saw coming, though, is that as soon as the perception of injustice being done to President Donald Trump via the force of the FBI, the use of government-sanctioned force through part of the justice system, the DOJ, the response from conservatives has not been to clearly and collectively stand by their position on law and order and faith that this system will determine that Trump did nothing wrong through the proper channels, and that evidence collection is part of that process of determining whether or not a crime has been committed or if someone is guilty of something. Instead of standing behind that process that they have vehemently defended over the last, specifically, let's talk about the last couple of years. So instead of remaining consistent to that point of view, that even in the instances where the government brings about perceptually excessive force, that ultimately they are there to provide law and justice to the people, law and order to the people, I should say. That hasn't been their rallying cry. No. This time when an instrument of the state's force, in this case the FBI, who are police, right? Let's put that out there right now. They are agents of the state who are authorized to use force in the pursuit of criminals and the prevention of criminal activity. In fact, the FBI scope is simply sort of at that higher level than, sheriffs and police departments in the states. So they deal with, white-collar crime, international crime, organized crime, cyber crime, international crime. So they're sort of looking at that, federal level of criminality. Police, right? Police. I think it's very easy to, but let's just call them police. That's what they are. So now we have the former president, rich Donald Trump, accosted through the perception of excessive force from the government's Justice Department. And suddenly, almost mystically, we have a new stance, a new standard, if you will, being brought forth by conservatives. Who do we go to first? The super consistent, the morally superior, the logic, the facts over feelings, genius that is the conservative brain. Unironically, defund the police, the FBI. Sorry, I said police because it's essentially the same thing. Unironically, defund the FBI. Like, do you think that there's any space in their reasoning to understand that they're reacting in the exact same manner as the crazy lefties when they saw violence enacted against people through the police force, particularly in America? We're going to talk specifically about America because this is where this news is happening. Do we think that there was any space for reflection in MTG's mind as she typed out the words defund the FBI, that she was essentially writing defund this specific type of police force? I can't believe it. So at first I thought this was hilarious. I thought this was absolutely batshit insane. And I actually had a bit of a laugh about it. I had a bit of fun with it because particularly, but I specifically looked up MTG's post history. And I Googled, I didn't Google, but I did a Twitter search on what she has said in the past. Where is that tweet? Candace Owens. Spoiler alert, we're going to talk about Candace Owens. Man, I've been tweeting too much today. Lol, here we go. So, unironically, in May this year, mere months ago, MTG has defended police and saying that to defund the police is to create out of control crime and deadly open borders. Now, let's remember that part of what the FBI do is international borders. When I take away our guns, I want to trust them with our children's lives while they fund death and war with US tax dollars. Some far off land that America can't find. The last half of that doesn't even make any fucking sense. I don't think the people that would defund the police were the same people that wanted to fund it. It was funny. It was funny. It was really funny for a while. Here we go. We've got another one. Candace Owens. Famously, Candace Owens, who spoke shit about Australia when we had some lockdowns, suggesting that America come and liberate the Australian people from our tyrannical rule. The FBI must be legally and formally dissolved. That sounds like defunding to me. What happened to President Trump is positively stunning and a mark of unchecked government power. I no longer recognize the country I live in. Left or right, we must come together to fight this evil now. Candace. Ms. Owens. I agree. Left or right, we must all come together to fight evil. My problem is, and I think where it stopped being funny and started becoming a bit tragic, is when I compare these responses, this reaction from conservative pundits to a white man having papers not even seized, like repossessed to go back to where they are supposed to be as confidential documents. When that happens to Donald Trump, we have this passionate cry of injustice and desire for change. Yet we don't see that when people die on the streets. You know, when George Floyd was killed on the street by the US justice system, it was all defense of that action. It was all finding ways to create a George Floyd that deserved it because of his past, whatever they could dig up. As if anything that someone does in their past means that they can be extrajudiciously killed through the misapplication of force. It's wild to me. It is literally insane to me that they've had this reaction. I guess this is what I really struggle with, right? Is I'm actually not surprised. I actually think this is perfectly consistent with the way Republicans and conservatives like to act. And it is always with self-interest. It is never with a guiding light of what is best for the world, what is best for the people around me, what is best for where I live. It is always what is best for me. How does this reflect on me? And one of the really common talking points that people are having with I think one of the tweets that I've seen most often retweeted is, if this can happen to Donald Trump, it can happen to you. As if the fact that someone in a position of authority and someone with the type of power that Donald Trump has, if he is being held potentially to account by the system, then that means you could be held to account by the system. And somehow that is rallying a certain type of person to be outraged at the thought that the tools of a democratic country with a justice system that is tacitly supposed to be one of the separation of powers of the state, that they can seek to investigate crimes, even of a former president. Shouldn't that be something that's celebrated? Shouldn't that be a point of pride for a country that is a representative democracy? That no matter what level you get to in that democracy, that you are never above the law. Because to me, it sounds like conservatives think that President Trump should be beyond reproach, that he should be held in such high esteem, high regard, that the very idea that anything he has done might be criminal is unthinkable to them. And that, I think, is one of the endemic reasons why it's very, very difficult to interact positively with conservatives. And here's the thing, right, is that these opinions, like, it's not like I'm dredging the bottom of the barrel here, right? Like, I'm not going to TikTok to find the cringiest Trump supporters. Right? There are people who do that. There are channels that do that. I enjoy that. That's content, right? That's fun. That's a laugh. The tweets that I'm showing you are people that are culturally relevant conservatives that influence, that have impact, that have a strong following. And this is their position. I've yet to see similar deconstruction of progressive politics from competitive conservatives. Conservatives tend to have a couple of tactics when they come against progressive policies, progressive people, progressive positions, and that they tend to misrepresent them. So defund the police was a good one. Yes, some of the work was done when the phrase or slogan defund the police was chosen by the people that were talking about it. But the fact that I don't think I ever once saw a conservative rebuttal of the idea of defunding the police actually go into the details of, well, defunding the police is to take funds from the police and allocate those funds to things like mental health response in other departments. Maybe in healthcare, or to address homelessness, or to address all these other risk factors that are actually, well documented to be something that is linked with crime levels, because material conditions are a very big predictor of crime. And so we can actually deal with some of those conditions before we have to deal with the criminal. That's never represented. When we talk about climate change and the need for renewables to be actually developed and actually funded by the government, we get gaslit into having an argument over nuclear versus renewables. Which is ironic, because I controversial position, but I think that people that overemphasize the need for nuclear have kind of drunk the Kool-Aid on how unreliable renewables are. Thank you, coal industry. Thank you, Koch brothers. So, to speak of the best of the best in terms of what conservatives have to offer, Ben Shapiro, the wonderkind, the boy genius who has failed to move on from his young thought leader, despite the fact that I think he's the same age as me. So he's not young anymore by any means, but that seems to be the cachet he's built for himself. So this is a Harvard law graduate. This is his take on the DOJ thing. We won't know how fully insane the FBI raid on Trump is until we see the warrant and warrant application. You buried the lead there a bit, Benny boy. We actually don't know if it's insane until we see the warrant and warrant application, and whether or not there was probable cause and what evidence they used to actually gain the warrant. So already make a determination that it was an unwarranted warrant. It's kind of spilling your bias. It's kind of telling us very clearly that you've already made up your opinion on whether or not this was warranted. And you just want to look at how insane it was. Not whether or not it was warranted or whether or not it was reasonable, but how insane was it? Because you've already made up a decision. But after Russiagate, years of investigations predicated largely on Clinton campaign misinformation. If the basis for this isn't bedrock solid, there should be hell to pay. Nice veiled threat. Ben at least had the foresight to moderate his language compared to some of his compatriots. Which, yeah, Ben always has been fairly milquetoast with regards to the way he phrases things. Definitely a lawyer through and through, but this is the best that they have. And they are still unable to even pen something that is remotely balanced and something that is remotely balanced and even has the pretension of being a fair reading of the situation. And then, speaking of thought leaders, amazing thought leaders. Oh, wait, has it been deleted? think it might have been deleted. Or it might have been a fake tweet. Maybe I should keep quiet about it then. Oh, wait, no. So one of my favorite things about conservatives is that you can never be sure whether you're reading a troll tweet that has been photoshopped or if it's real. Because I've found no specific limit to the ridiculousness that they will tweet. And it renders comedy impossible because everything is believable. But Steven Crowder, tomorrow is war. Sleep well. I'm sorry. I need someone, please, anyone, to please explain to me how that is reasonable. Right? You're the side of law and order. You're the side of peaceful protest. You're the side of back the blue. You're the side of, conservative family values and rhetoric about this type of inciting of, I don't want to overstate the case because this is a tweet that has clearly been worded in a way to be defensible when it comes to criticism, but open to interpretation when it comes to how their readers interact with it. So like a Crowder fan, a MAGA fan, MAGA, however you want to say it, a MAGA fan can read this and be stand down and stand by and understand, right? It's what's between the lines. It's that lack of clarity in communication, the fuzziness that is there by design that allows people to fill in the gaps in how they want it to read. So when someone wants to criticize Crowder over inciting people to maybe do things that are a little bit silly, he can go, well, I didn't say that they should go and do that. I didn't say they should do anything crazy. I just said tomorrow's... See, now I might be getting to the point where I'm just being too generous in my reading of this because it does say war, doesn't it? What is war if not violence? Right? Right. Okay, we're gonna scroll live. This is probably a bad thing. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people mocking Crowder. What's he say?
You like to sucker right now. You come forward, I will press charges, you will go to jail. Or,
oh, that's when he got punched.
You like to sucker punch people. I will allow you to face me in the People's Octagon, a legal, sanctioned mixed martial arts bout where we can settle it man to man, one-on-one, and all of this money has been raised to find you. I will match it. If you beat me, give it to the union of your choice. It's your choice, jail or face me like a man. Send your answer on Twitter at @AskCrowder. Right now.
Oh, God. That would have been a good match. Oh, boy. I wonder how much of the Twitter algorithm is showing me stuff that is aligned with my preferences. Because I know that... Pete the Blue died real quick. Because I know that a lot of people unironically follow Crowder. We like the blue line, not the 3 letters. Suddenly they're CIA. So what I'm saying? They don't care about what they believed yesterday because today they need the FBI to be the bad guy. And I haven't verified it myself, but it sounds plausible. But I've seen reports that the current director of the FBI, or whatever their top honcho is called, was appointed by Trump. Like, all the claims that the Democrats are doing this, that it's a Democratic plan to prevent Donald Trump from becoming president, as if making him into a fucking martyr is like a solid way to ensure he doesn't get votes. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, a 5-year-old would be able to understand that this type of activity to martyr Trump is not an effective method to preventing him from being liked. We knew exactly, like during his run up in the election in 2016, when he would make fun of people with disabilities, when he would talk about women in derogatory ways, when he would, say boldly that he could shoot someone in New York in a New York street and not be charged. Like when a person talks like that and becomes president, vilifying them through criminal charges seems like a really bad way to do that when they've already been weaned on 4 years of rhetoric around how fucking corrupt the system is and how the fake news media, this, that, and the other thing. It's fucking insane to think that this is like a plan by the Democrats to get him to not get voters, because it's just going to make him more popular with his base. It's just going to make him more relatable to people that are frustrated with the system. If it is genuinely a Democrat plan, it's a shitty plan, a really shitty plan. Dark Brandon, let's go. Oh man, I was hoping I'd see more Crowder fans. I'm disappointed with Twitter if they really do preference people based on. He'll do nothing. Oh, that's. FBI planting evidence. Oh, I've seen that name a few times. I didn't click. This is the other thing that gets frustrating in some of these is that. Oh, wait, no, yeah, that was been saying planted. I've been just reading the top level comments. I haven't been reading replies. See, like, I don't know what they're talking about. So is arming the enemy. Like, what is going on? No one knows what you're talking about. All right, it's not just me. Flash wet dream. Man, I was frustrated at this, but I'm getting some more comedy back with my big boy headphones. I'm gonna diss the headphones. It is weird to put this photo on the internet of yourself. Yeah, it is weird. Okay, I'm guessing the reply guys here are going to be potentially where it is. That wasn't very fun. I feel bad. Like, maybe I shouldn't feel bad, but like, these old guys in power and stuff, it's so easy to get unflattering photos of them. Let's be real. Speaking, oh god. YouTube, that was fun. Here's the other thing, right? The idea that people are doing this for clout. This is career ending. This is, I will get death threats if my participation in this action comes out. Like, any named person in the line of command to this action, like, holy shit, you would not necessarily feel safe walking out into some places in America. Country back. This is what I love. I love Republicans unironically feeling the way they make other people feel, but not recognizing it. God, it's amazing. Fucking amazing. All right. That wasn't as cray-cray as I hoped it would be. But just for fun, I also had the way this has been covered on Fox News Australia, otherwise known as Sky News. It's Rupert Murdoch. It's all the same fucking dog. That paused the wrong thing. Paused the wrong thing. I've got a media play button on my keyboard, and it sort of.
This is some third world bull right here. Let me say it again. Third world bull. I mean every word of that.
Don't worry, we'll get to the Australian part soon.
I was a federal agent. I raised my right.
It's funny because, like, from what I can tell, it wasn't beeped in the original, but Sky News, too spicy for Sky News.
Hand, and I swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, and I love this country. This is a freaking disgrace. A disgrace. We don't live in Cuba. We don't live under Kim Jong-un. We live in a constitutional republic.
Remember, he's talking about an action carried out to determine whether or not an official had conducted criminal behavior or activities. Presumably, actually. Like, maybe I shouldn't speak so much, but it is an act of the Justice Department in not providing excess benefit or privilege to someone just because they are the president. I actually think that dictatorships work in the opposite way, right? Like, if you're a dictator or, you know, closely related to the powers of dictatorship, I guess it's hard to make that direct comparison when, you know, as a president, Donald Trump, you know, lost the presidency because he's not a dictator. But like those dictatorships that they want to try and compare this action to, it's literally the opposite. You literally wouldn't have a powerful person who has wielded the country's reins be investigated by the justice system. Like, that wouldn't happen.
Like a representative democracy. You have a bunch of FBI agents raiding the home of a former president because they don't like his politics? Are you kidding?
No, it wasn't because they don't like his politics. I don't think we know yet. Ironically, by the time people might start watching this video, by the time I upload it as a clip, people might know at that point. But at the point this aired, I don't believe anyone knew specifically why the FBI raided. Things started to come out about the documents that hadn't been returned, that were being sought out, and that was the purpose of the warrant. Yet here we have the discussion being framed around the radical left Democrats. Democrats are not radical left. Democrats probably had very little to do with this in terms of it being a political move, and it was probably more in line with just the dumb fuckery that Trump has done with the way he handled the office of president as a fucking businessman, as a manager of a company, instead of someone that is meant to be steering public policy in the government. Just a guess. But hey, I'm sure we'll know soon. We'll know more soon.
That was Unfiltered host Dan Bongino there in a passionate rant, calling the raids at Donald Trump's home a disgrace. He joined Fox News' Jesse Waters, where he went to town.
Don't say anything ableist about the shape of his head. Don't do it. Don't say anything about his head.
On the FBI's actions after it was announced the agency had raided Mar-a-Lago looking for potential documents the former president may have kept. But the United States isn't a dictatorship. It's a constitutional republic, a representative democracy. So how can the FBI raid the home of a former president?
Because it's a representative democracy, presumably it means that there is no position society grants to people that have had former time in office to place them above the rule of law and order. That is probably how they did it, right? Like, you don't get privilege to break the law before, during, or after being president. Now, there are tensions with the application of law to a president, particularly when it comes down to interpretations of whether something is illegal. And funnily enough, a lot of things in law do actually fall under that category, where it's down to the interpretation of whether or not something is malicious, whether something is designed to, for example, mislead or defame, or things like that, where I think politicians get a lot of leeway, particularly in like defamatory law cases, because to even have the perception of restricting the speech of someone who's politically active has a lot of really negative consequences, particularly if it's a conservative person, because they tend to have a lot of money backing them and can sort of pursue legal remedy for those things quite fiercely. But no, the idea that it's such bad optics for the right as well, to sit there and be shocked and to feign outrage at the fact that Donald Trump just got treated like any other American who was suspected of a crime, and suddenly they lose their shit.
Dan Bongino pointed out a fact that so many have made today. How can Donald Trump be raided for potentially keeping so-called documents, but Hillary Clinton can't be held accountable for pushing the Russia collusion hoax?
Both could be bad, right? Let's just assume. I don't know much about Hillary and the emails because I frankly don't care. She didn't win the presidency race. She lost to Donald Trump, and yet they still want to use Hillary Clinton as the poll by which anything Donald Trump does is measured. If Hillary Clinton did something bad and deleted emails that were confidential and needed to be kept for legal reasons, that's bad, and that should be also investigated, right? I'm not making any stance on whether that's a true allegation or not. I don't trust the sources that promote this particular discussion point, but for the purposes of this particular argument, where they're like, well, if Hillary can do this and get away with it, why can't Trump? Well, if Hillary did it and got away with it, that doesn't mean that Trump should be able to do it and get away with it. It doesn't actually help that position at all, because if one person gets away with a crime, it doesn't mean the second person now has a free pass. I think it's a very optimistic understanding of the idea of precedence in the legal system. Precedence in the legal system is not, we didn't charge someone because of whether it was lack of evidence, lack of resources, lack of whatever. That doesn't mean the next person gets an automatic, you may get out of jail free card.
In 2016, or Hunter Biden can't be properly looked at by the FBI for alleged criminal activity on the actual laptop that the organization have in their possession. Joe Biden's son has been at the center.
The FBI that is led by someone appointed by Trump. Remember, the head of the FBI, the one that gets to set the resourcing priority, was put in that position by Donald Trump. Let's not pretend this is a Democrat-only position.
Center of scandal after scandal, sometimes in various leaked videos he has filmed himself. So how come the FBI isn't looking into that? Well, it was revealed a few weeks ago that the FBI was actually given derogatory information about Hunter right before the 2020 election, and agents passed it off as disinformation.
Here's the irony, right? Like, I actually think it's not unreasonable to suspect that Hunter Biden could be involved in dodgy shit. Again, someone I care nothing about and have looked into zero of the scandals around him, because he's not just not in Australia or an Australian, but he's also not the president of the United States. So I don't actually give a shit. But the level at which conservative media and conservative pundits catastrophize about the level of his criminality is probably not accurate. And ironically, probably has the effect of making it very difficult for agencies like the FBI to sift through all the information out there and get around what is just propaganda for political purposes and what is potentially real leads. So it might even be the case that there's actually just too much noise around Hunter Biden's situation for the FBI to effectively prosecute, like to effectively investigate. Trump, on the other hand, is politically active, is effective in mobilizing Americans to participate in actions that are not always the, shall we say, most democratic actions available to them in all the choices that they could make in a given day, and is pretty consistent at inflaming people around him. So while there's probably a lot of noise around Trump and in terms of what he is or isn't doing that may or may not have been illegal, there's a lot more impetus to be focused on Donald Trump because he continues to be an issue or a threat to the, I guess, peaceful nature of, maybe peaceful isn't the right word, he's very good at potentially inciting people to doing things that are not savory. So there's more of a need, I guess, for Trump to be managed over Hunter Biden. But hey, what would conservatives be without whataboutism? Nothing.
This was only unveiled when whistleblowers came forward to Senator Chuck Grassley with the allegations. Dan Bongino, who is actually a federal...
She didn't actually tell me what the allegations are, right? She told me about the laptop. She told me about videos that he filmed of himself. I have this vague online knowledge that it had something to do with cocaine and sex. But, like, you're a news organization. Facts. Provide the facts. Deliver the facts. Don't just tell me people are saying things. Tell me what they're saying. Otherwise, you're just pointing, gesturing at something and hoping I'll forget the fact that Donald Trump's full of shit.
Agent slammed the FBI and said the management of the organization has now shredded any sliver of credibility this agency had left.
All right, now we're going to see the other side after this.
The FBI for a long time.
Don't worry, we'll get the other side after this.
I didn't like it because I work with some very good people over there who've since retired.
Look, no. Seriously, Sky News Australia is a serious journalistic outlet, and we are going to see the other side of this story just after this. Like, it's going to happen. Ignore this down here that tells us the video is almost over. We're about to get the other side.
The FBI has now shredded any single sliver of credibility this agency had left. Nobody will take them seriously from this point on. It is over. All I'm telling you is you cannot tell me we still live in a constitutional republic and not the freaking third world when you have Hillary Clinton paying foreign agents to interfere with an election, people lying under oath repeatedly, Hunter Biden doing crack on tape.
Oh, it is crack on tape.
Where are the federal agents? They're not in Malibu.
I'm sorry. So, if someone can clarify for me, is the worst thing that Hunter Biden did crack on tape? Because it suggests to me that he was going to pick the most shocking thing that Hunter Biden has been alleged to have done, since he alleged that Hillary Clinton paid foreign actors to interfere in the election. Is it just that he's a drug hound, and that's why Hunter Biden is hated by conservatives?
They're not in Chappaqua. They're in Mar-a-Lago.
Oh, that's it. Right. Okay, cool. Fair and balanced. That's the news. Wait, what's this? Flagging flags.
Patriotic flags extreme. True, according to the FBI, every flag is a red flag. I came up with that. This week, Senator
I don't even know what that means.
questioned FBI Director Christopher Wray over FBI training materials that reportedly flag certain flags as being symbols of militia violent extremism.
Oh, is it going to be the MAGA flag?
Rather astonishingly, patriotic symbols of our nation and our history.
Is it going to be MAGA flags? Oh, it's going to be the Confederate flag, isn't it?
They included rather astonishingly patriotic symbols of our
Please be the MAGA flag.
Included on this list is the Betsy.
I'm sorry, I fucking love it. I don't think I see this in Australian politics, but the fact that they take fucking whiteboard, like display boards into the Senate in America is fucking cute. Like, it is the cutest shit. Like, imagine him like practicing this in front of his staff and gesturing to the board and going through what he's planning on saying and stuff, and like talking about the fonts and the kerning and the color and is it set out right. God, it's amazing. Tax dollars at work.
Betsy Ross flag.
The what flag?
Fairly remarkable list is the Betsy Ross flag.
Betsy Ross. That's a Confederate flag, isn't it?
Remarkable that the Betsy Ross flag in the FBI's indication is indicative of militia violent extremism.
Wow, I didn't know Betsy Ross was such a bitch. By the way, that's the Betsy Ross flag in case you slept through history class. So
That is a Confederate flag.
Too, that was extreme. She sewed flags, not dissent.
No, that's not the Confederate. I don't know enough about America.
But it's not just the Betsy Ross flag.
This is not what I thought it was about.
The Betsy Ross flag.
Please be the MAGA flag.
Also on this list is the Gadsden flag as a symbol of violent extremism. Now, the state of Virginia has a
I don't think it
license
is.
plate for the Gadsden flag, as do many other states.
Arrest them. The Gadsden flag dates all the way back to 1775, the year Biden learned to ride a bike. Well, what else was included on this list?
I hate like
Also
late
included
show
on this
comedy.
text that I was particularly struck is the Gonzales battle flag. Come and take it. Well, I will self-report right now that every day in the Senate I wear my boots that have the Gonzales battle flag on the back of them.
Checks out.
Director Ray, what are y'all doing?
What am I doing with my life?
Well, you know Cruz means business when he takes off his boots. It's the equivalent of Adam Schiff.
Why did they laugh at that?
But was Director Ray familiar with the particular document Cruz had behind him?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the particular document you have behind you. We usually take great pains to put caveats and warnings in the document that make clear that a symbol alone is not considered evidence of violent extremism.
So in the FBI's eyes, these flags are symbols of militia violent extremism. But BLM and Antifa flags, not included. But also included this one.
All right. This is not relevant.
Thank
Let's see. I need like a sneezing scene to cut to because probably not great to be on full screen. Well, got an alert for closing a dockable window. I think I'm going to leave it there. It was nice to stream again on YouTube, even if it didn't. I'm not even blow up, even if I didn't get a single view. What am I doing with my life?